Hey, man, it is a hump day edition of Dukes and Bell. It's our pre-show. We call it Behind the Curtain, where we tell you what we're going to be doing on the show. Carl goes on a big vacation, so it's our man, Beau Morgan, from the morning shift, a.k.a. Squidbilly. He's going to be in today, so it's a throwback to the old days, Beau. You and me, that's Day, the brains of the operation up there. Oren may or may not jump in, pushing the buttons a little bit later. And today, it's Wednesday. We're going to be doing our exclusive conversation from Falcons with head coach Raheem Morris. We'll know who the player guest is. We'll tweet that out to you later. Also, Wednesday means West, say it, Squid. Drew Ham. That's West Durham. Get his take on the Falcons. And, of course, last night, we got the college football playoff and the latest edition, which has, some people scratching their heads. There's a few things which we can get into. I think the only people really in their bag today would be Miami fans. Maybe Notre Dame fans feeling that Alabama jumped them. We'll discuss all that. And also today, Rusty Mansell, because it used to be a big day for us, Beau, and Day. Signing day, I don't know where you fall on this, Beau. It seems like it's just not the same anymore with guys switching their commitments a year later and all the crazy stuff that happens.
Yeah, it's just kind of, yeah. I mean, it almost feels like that new date, which is early January with the portal, is more important. I mean, look at how many college football playoff teams or teams that are out right there on the bubble have been built through the portal. Vanderbilt wasn't built on signing day. Neither was Ole Miss. So it's just kind of, And Miami fans have no one to blame but their team. Don't lose to SMU on the road if you want to whine and complain. Right. I saw your tweet earlier, Mike, about Notre Dame and Alabama, and I quoted it, and it was like, personally, I know we'll get into it today on the show, but Notre Dame, I don't know how they can argue they should be ahead of Alabama in any way.
Right. And that's the thing. Now, Alabama, and it was the only thing is, if you want to talk about the committee, like I hate committees, I hate bureaucracies in whether it's in politics or sports or the homeowners association, I hate all committees. But in this case, they just don't do a good job of presenting their argument. If you want to say Alabama plays a tougher schedule than Notre Dame, just say that. They always seem, for whatever reason, Beau and Day, to shy away from the importance of strength of schedule. The reason I went nuts today is they said the committee gave Alabama, this is their quote, a little respect for winning the game. You beat a 5-7 Auburn. I know it's the Iron Bowl. I know strange things happen at Jordan-Hare Stadium. But what was really crazy, they said getting out early, 17-0. Oh, really? So now there's a prize for being the leader at halftime? Day, I have a hard time trucking with their logic.
Yeah, it's very hard to really believe in the committee in general, as far as how they lay things out. Because right now, the reality of it is, if you really look at things, the ACC may be screwed altogether because, according to their logic, it's going to be the highest ranked conference champions. Well, the highest ranked ACC team is not playing in the conference championship, right? So are you telling us right now that the ACC, based on the fact that if Duke wins on Saturday, will not have a team playing in the playoffs? Or if they do, it's going to, who's it going to be? Is it going to be the conference champion and then you knock Miami out? Like, what are we talking about here?
Hold on a second. The only person or the only people that the ACC has to blame for this situation. ACC has no one to blame but themselves. I do believe, though, if Duke was to win that Miami would find their way in the college football playoffs somehow, some way. So I don't think that's a lost cause. But I can't blame the committee for the ACC's ridiculous formula that put Duke in that title game to begin with.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's just it. It's so convoluted to get to the fifth tiebreaker. I'm with Beau. If everybody finishes with the same conference record, go with the highest ranked college football playoff committee team. And because unfortunately, that is the standard today. A couple of guys hitting us up on Twitter. You can always hit us up. Day will collect some of the information because we get a lot of stuff real time on Twitch and YouTube. And yesterday we had some fun with a couple of comments from the audience about the Falcons. Falcon conversation in our preview show Behind the Curtain coming up in just a second. But Cullen Crane, he's on Twitter, Day and Squid. He says they've slow played it, but the way they position BYU as the only team separating them is setting it up for a direct comparison next week. He thinks Miami will jump them. Well, Notre Dame just has more juice nationally. They always find a way to weasel in. I've always hated that because, at least say one thing for Marcus Freeman, his team beat Georgia. Brian Kelly's Notre Dame teams would always get smoked, either in a semifinal or in the finals, but we'll see how it plays out. I just never understand their logic. And since the Baylor AD got knocked out of the box for belittling people on the sideline, they don't really have a good spokesman. All right, man. Other thing today is, of course, the Falcons will be at Falcons headquarters. Beau, it's pretty simple. First question for Coach Raheem today, at least for me, is how come you can't fix special teams? It's been so many weeks now continuing. He said it himself after this loss this week to the Jets. Special teams was awful, and I know Kadero Hodge got benched for not doing his job. Agnew, next man up, was even worse. How come you can't fix special teams? Because it's cost you, by my account, Beau, at least 4 games, or at least certainly critically flipped the field in games you've lost.
Oh, Mike, it's a very valid argument about the special teams and what it's cost you. I know I heard Arch with you guys, and we obviously we do the games, and I'm with them, and I'm down there for the interviews, and you're talking about 10 points. I talked to Arch off the line the other day, and I said I would dare to say it was 13 points because we can talk about the 10 we know, but when it feels like this year when I've needed Bradley Pinion to really boom one. He has the worst punt of the day, essentially, on the very
40 yards
last punt. And you really gave it where what's the defense supposed to do? You're 20 yards away, essentially 25 from field goal range. There's things I think you can blame on coaching with special teams, and there's things where you can't. I don't blame Marquise Williams for Jamal Agnew muffing a punt. That's just ridiculousness. It's hard to blame him for guys making the same mistakes, but when you've moved guys in and out, what's happening there? And it seems like it's just happening too much. It's a fair question to ask with the special teams, and if there's gonna be a downfall with Raheem, it could be the holding on to certain guys too long. He held on to Jimmy Lake too long. He didn't hold on to Ike Hilliard too long, which was good. But now, you look at special teams and why can't you get it fixed? I don't know what the deal with Kadero Hodge was. I'm not sure if it was all special teams related or if it was trying to get guys like Dylan Drummond and Devin Tompkins in there and have them make plays, not just on special teams, right? Because Kadero hasn't done much offensively. And I'll say one more thing because I don't want to be overly long-winded, which I already am. But why is Jamal Agnew not doing what Devin Tompkins did? Devin Tompkins comes in the game. He's on kickoff, right? And then he gets a jet sweep. He catches, 2 or 3 passes and he had 2 or 3 touches, I should say, early in that first half. Why? If Jamal Agnew's only job is to catch kicks, then he can't be making mistakes like the muff.
Right. Well, I would even say, I said to Day and Carl yesterday, look, I get it. You don't want to have your starters back there. I even let D. Alford can make a fair catch. I mean, D. Alford has played as a punt returner, both in the college and the pro level. So I just think, again, I think that sometimes there's a lack of imagination in all phases of the Falcons. And I know what you're saying about Agnew's individual mistake, but look, for time immemorial, said it yesterday, the buck stops with the position coach. Teams has been a problem all season. And, week 14, as I said on the radio, you don't really have any answers. And we'll see. And I wonder if Arthur Blank Day is asking these questions. Let me ask you guys, Beau, because we talked about it yesterday. Where do you fall on hearing from Arthur Blank? There's been times where he's maintained radio silence in the past. There's times where he has spoken out midseason about where his team is. And do you feel the Falcon fans deserve to hear from Arthur?
Well, it's not yes or no, but I would say this. I like the fact that he's going to speak after. And the reason why is we've seen Arthur talk at times and kind of put you in bad situations. I don't think anything good comes from too many people talking. It just adds to what people want to put as a chaotic thing anyways, right? Whatever happens with this season, Arthur can come out, and if they decide to keep Raheem, hold a press conference and tell us why. If they want to fire Raheem or whatever they want to do with that, hold a press conference and tell us why. I don't need the midseason stuff. Let the people that you've put in charge of football talk about football. And
so we're going to hear from Rich McKay?
Well, no, because again, there's another thing, and that's a whole thing where I'm around enough to know the guys that are doing things, and you and I say you as in organizationally have put it where you've helped build up these narratives, right? The press conference that was held when Arthur Smith was let go did nothing to help narratives that people have, whether they're right or wrong. You don't help those situations. I need to hear from, if anything, I would rather hear from the GM. But we've been told.
Haven't heard from him either. We could lump him in with Arthur.
Yeah. But Mike, that's their thing. They're like, we have one voice during the season, and that's the head coach. Which, if you're going to say that, stick to it. I'm fine with it. You want to talk after? There's going to be a post-mortem on the season, right? And that's when the people that you want to hear from, to me, should talk. Because I think it just creates even more of a mess if the owner comes out and starts talking.
Day, where do you fall on this? I mean, I don't want him to be Jerry Jones, but all I'm saying is, he doesn't even have to speak. He can even release it through his peeps, through the Falcon Foundation. However, say, look, we were very disappointed with the results. We continue to evaluate. And, just give me something to hang my hat on. I understand Beau's point. You don't want to create chaos. But look, the season, for all intents and purposes, is over. Where do you fall on Arthur sounding off on this, Day?
Would be nice to know what he's thinking. I don't know if I necessarily would say that I want to hear from him in particular. But even if it was, your rumor mills or, sources reporting, like just kind of knowing that he is kind of paying attention and, putting something out there. I don't know, but again, I don't know that I would necessarily say, because I do agree with Beau in the sense that, if he comes out and starts speaking, you've already got the pot kind of simmering, and now maybe that whatever he may say kind of starts to get it to boiling even more. I think inside that building, I get the feeling everyone knows how this thing is going to play out as far as what's going to take place once this season comes to an end. And I think it's at the point now where they're maybe just saying, you know what, let's just finish this thing out. We'll make all our announcements about how we're moving forward once we get to that point. And then so be it, because they've got a lot to figure out. We talked about it yesterday. How's this quarterback situation going to play out? If Michael Penix is more along the end of the 12-month end of that timeline, who's going to be the ones to make the decision on how that quarterback situation is going to play out?
It's a great point. Hey, Beau, real quick, we can get into this today. Also, live from Falcons today, we'll have our exclusive interview with Raheem Morris, West Durham, Rusty Mansell scheduled to join us to wrap up signing day. Beau, where do you fall? Because I've already got this from some of the audience. I'm sure you're getting some of the same stuff on social media, which is, a new regime may come in here and say, we got to blow this thing up, go scorched earth. I hate the idea of trading the best players on my team. Whoever and wherever we go, with Bijan and Drake, you got something special. Fontenot got it right with these defensive studs we've accumulated the last few years. I think a different coaching staff can maximize this talent. Where do you fall on that?
Well, I'm not a blow it up guy with where this team is, because I don't think it makes any sense. When you do what you do with Kirk, which I have thoughts on that. We can get into on the actual show today from 2 to 6 on 92.9 The Game. There's going to be some money there. But the blow it up stuff doesn't make sense. The problem I have with changing coaches every couple of years is you get what you got right now. What's the number one of the big complaints of the offense is you don't know what it is, right? And you've got everybody talks about Zach Robinson's running Sean McVay's offense. Well, that's not really true. They're all running a version of Mike Shanahan's offense, and they've all put their own twist to it. But when I hear people and I see people, they send me clips all the time of what the Rams do offensively, Mike. Well, what do the Rams have? Their guards are 330. We have Chris Lindstrom at 300, and we have Bergeron at maybe 320. You're taking parts of what other people have built and trying to fit it into what you want to do. And that's a product of changing coaches every 2 to 3 years. I'm not saying either way what to do, but the reality is that's what the problem is when you do that. You've got smaller offensive linemen built to run the wide zone, but are you really even running the wide zone anymore, or is it more mid zone? And you can talk about what that is and such, but I'm not getting rid of possibly the best player in football,
right?
A top 5 receiver, and 2 young edge rushers who have been nothing short of both being defensive rookie of the years. If you look at numbers that other guys have won that award on, like Jared Verse.
I can't move on from these guys. I get it. I do think, and look, I always felt, and I said it at the time, it was an uncompelling hire because of the circumstances. They weren't confident in going with a first-time coach on the heels of the Arthur Smith. And again, the way Arthur Blank talked about Arthur Smith, he might as well just kept him on that final press conference. There might have been the play in hindsight. Look, Zach Robinson, I don't sometimes understand what he's doing. I don't think he's a terrible offensive coordinator. I just think he's not the right fit for Michael Penix Jr. when he was on the field. We'll talk about that today. We'll ask Coach Ra about this, special teams, I thought Cousins hit some receivers in the hands. I think Cousins has not been terrible. Beau, real quick, you were closer to it before we break up, and we'll be live from Falcons at 2. The week against Miami, was that because Kirk was late getting the prep? They were still thinking Penix was going to play? Because Kirk's looked okay the first the game against New Orleans. I thought he made enough plays to win the game against the Jets. Did he not get the full week against Miami? Because there was such a disconnect with the receivers.
Yeah, Mike, it's a really good question that I think there's probably one or two people that could answer. But my opinion on it would be, I think it's a few things. Maybe there was a confidence. Remember, Kirk, that was his first real game first actually, not the 4 passes he threw against Carolina in mop-up duty, but that was his first game. And I wonder where his confidence was. Yeah, he was throwing to guys that maybe he wasn't as familiar with. Darnell Mooney was still sleepwalking through the season at that point. There was no Drake. So I think it was kind of a perfect storm type thing. Yeah, the offense seemed a little more suited for what Penix is comfortable doing. And then you did see when they made a shift that it's been more of what Kirk is comfortable with, which is the one thing I would say about Zach is you can't say that maybe he doesn't try to make the quarterback comfortable, because clearly that's what he did with Penix, and that's what he's trying to do with Cousins. Is it right or wrong? There's your debate, and I'm all for that. But I think it maybe just been a perfect storm, Mike. It's just tough to answer, but I do believe there was a confidence issue because you've seen him it's like he's been knocking the rust off in the first 2 starts, counting the Miami game, and then last week he felt a lot more like the guy that you thought you were getting.
Right. I mean, he hits, I thought Pitts in the hands. Pitts, could make the contested catch after having a good day. Sills inexplicably drops the ball and hits him in the hands. Mooney is beyond worthless at this stage. He's back to being the guy he was with the Bears. Very inconsistent. But yeah, I think Cousins, all things being equal, Hart said it yesterday on our show, pretty good. Squidbilly, Beau Morgan from the morning shift joins us today. He'll be with us later. We got a couple of days. It's Mike Bell and Friends. We got a special show tomorrow. Steak's going to be on sale. That's right, Cha-Cha. We're going to be up at the Buffalo's Cafe in Cumming. That's tomorrow's show. But today, Flowery Branch, guys. West Durham, Rusty on recruiting. USC is supposed to have the best recruiting class so far. How about them apples? And was Kirby truly blindsided by the Jared Curtis move to Vandy? We'll get into all that today. Day, man. We'll see you up there at the branch.
Yep. See you guys.
Thanks for watching.